Before the maps, before the mathematics, before the very idea of a written code, humanity faced a universe of baffling unknowns. How did our ancestors navigate a world rife with unseen forces, unpredictable weather, and the ever-present terrifying mystery of fate? They didn't have telescopes to chart the stars or supercomputers to model probabilities. Instead, they possessed an incredible, almost unbelievable intuition, a profound connection that we in our modern world have largely forgotten. They looked to the sky, not just for the sun or moon, but for whispers. Imagine a lone figure, perhaps a hunter, a gatherer, or a shaman, standing silhouetted against a vast, indifferent horizon. The wind whips past, carrying the primal sense of rain or distant fire. The silence is profound, broken only by nature's breath. And then, a shadow passes overhead. A single bird, then another. Soon, a flock, not just flying, but swirling, diving, ascending and descending in complex synchronized ballets that defy casual explanation. To us, it's a beautiful spectacle of nature's artistry. To them, it was a living, breathing oracle, a celestial messenger. The sheer staggering audacity of it, to believe that the arbitrary flight path of a raven, the sudden chatter of sparrows, or the migratory patterns of geese could hold the key to a successful hunt, signal a coming storm, or even foretell the outcome of an impending battle? Yet across continents and countless millennia, this profound, almost bewildering dialogue with the avian world was a bedrock of human existence. Our ancestors were not merely observers, they were devoted readers of nature's first, most enigmatic script, a silent dialogue whispered from the wings of prophecy. It's a story so bizarre, so fundamental, you might wonder how we ever lost it. But how did humanity begin to decode these celestial whispers, to translate the silent language of the wild into something actionable, something vital for survival? It wasn't through divine revelation or a sudden mystic flash of insight, but through painstaking, relentless observation. Imagine our distant ancestors not merely surviving, but studying the world around them with an intensity we can barely fathom today. They watched the migrating herds of bison, an endless, thundering river of life and sustenance, their every hoofbeat a rhythm of the seasons. They noted the sudden panicked flight of deer, a clear signal of an approaching predator, perhaps a saber-toothed cat lurking just beyond the tree line. The raucous clamor of a bird colony might signify a rich fishing ground, while the unnatural silence of the forest could portend a coming storm or impending danger. These weren't just casual observations, they were the very bedrock of existence, the keys to finding food, avoiding peril, and understanding the cyclical rhythms of a harsh, unforgiving world. And then they did something truly extraordinary, something that elevates them beyond mere survivalists. They began to record it. Deep within the earth, on the cold, unyielding rock of caves, our ancestors etched and painted, not just beautiful figures, but knowledge. The magnificent galloping forms of wild horses, the powerful contours of woolly mammoths, the intricate patterns of stags with towering antlers. These weren't merely artistic expressions. They were a sophisticated,
proto-scientific database, a visual lexicon of nature's laws. These incredible cave paintings, found across continents, from the hallowed halls of Lascaux to the ancient depths of Chauvet, represent humanity's first script. They reveal a profound, almost mystical connection, an ancient intelligence that recognized the inherent interconnectedness of all life. Each image was a memory, a lesson, a prophecy. Here are the animals we hunt. Here are their migratory routes. Here are the signs of their presence. It's astonishing to think that before written language, before complex mathematics, before cities and empires, humanity was already reading the world in such exquisite detail, transforming the fleeting ballet of the wild into an enduring legacy, a silent chronicle carved in stone. They were the original naturalists, the first philosophers, interpreting the living world with a wisdom that speaks across the millennia. A truly bizarre, utterly brilliant testament to human ingenuity. What a loss that we ever forgot how to read those pages.
Yet, if the earth offered a silent chronicle carved in stone, then the sky above offered a living, breathing oracle, a swirling, feathered prophecy. Imagine for a moment the sheer, unimaginable spectacle that unfolded twice a year across ancient landscapes. Millions upon millions of birds, an aerial armada blotting out the very sun. This wasn't merely a natural event, it was a cosmic declaration, an astonishing display that would have stopped ancient humanity in its tracks, leaving them utterly bewildered and utterly captivated. This wasn't merely a natural event, it was a cosmic declaration, an astonishing display that would have stopped ancient humanity in its tracks, leaving them utterly bewildered and utterly captivated. From the thunderous flocks of cranes traversing the Nile, guiding the pharaohs to harvest, to the countless starlings wheeling over Celtic sacred groves, whispering of coming winters, these immense migrations were not just pretty sights. They were the calendar, the compass, the weather forecast, and for many, the direct voice of the divine. They were the calendar, the compass, the weather forecast, and for many, the direct voice of the divine. How else could such a grand, coordinated movement of life be explained, if not as a deliberate message from powers beyond human comprehension? It's almost absurd to consider, but for millennia, the entire fate of tribes and nations could hinge on the precise observation of a flock of geese, or the sudden, unexplained absence of swallows. The flight path of an eagle might dictate the route of an army. The call of a raven could signal famine, and the first sighting of a swift heralded the arrival of spring, not just a season, but the promise of rebirth and plenty. The flight path of an eagle might dictate the route of an army. The call of a raven could signal famine, and the first sighting of a swift heralded the arrival of spring, not just a season, but the promise of rebirth and plenty. These were not superstitions born of ignorance, but rather sophisticated systems of ecological intelligence, honed over generations. Our ancestors observed the subtle shifts in wind, the changes in temperature, the patterns of their food sources, and then they saw these same patterns amplified and confirmed by the winged messengers above. Our ancestors observed the subtle shifts in wind, the changes in temperature, the patterns of their food sources, and then they saw these same patterns amplified
and confirmed by the winged messengers above. The sheer audacity of nature to present such grand, undeniable spectacles, and the profound human genius to read them, remains one of history's most baffling and beautiful truths. What a truly spectacular way to navigate a world without maps, without meteorology, solely guided by the wings of prophecy across an ancient, whispering sky.
From the dramatic auguries of Roman temples, our gaze shifts dramatically to the deep primeval forests of ancient Britannia and Gaul. Here, shrouded in mists and ancient oaks, a profoundly different wisdom flourished, whispered not in the solemn rustle of a toga, but in the sighing of trees and the sudden sharp caw of a raven. The Celtic peoples, guided by their enigmatic druids, didn't merely observe the natural world. They experienced it as a living, breathing oracle, a vast, sacred text written in bark and feather. Imagine a mist-shrouded dawn, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and secrets older than time. A druid stands, adorned simply with oak leaves and mistletoe, not looking to the distant sky for a phlox pattern, but listening, truly listening to the forest's every sound. For them, the forest was a cathedral, and its inhabitants its subtle messengers. A sudden raucous cry of a raven wasn't just a bird's call. It was a potent pronouncement, a warning of war, a harbinger of change, or perhaps a prophecy of abundant harvest. Or consider the spectral hoot of an owl, piercing the dense, moonlit vale night. It wasn't simply the sound of a nocturnal hunter. It was interpreted as the voice of the underworld, a bearer of profound wisdom, or a chilling omen of transition. The sheer incredible audacity of their belief. Every broken branch, every ripple in a hidden stream, every creature's sudden unexplained flight was imbued with cosmic significance. Their understanding wasn't based on rigid, codified systems like the Romans, but on an intuitive, almost telepathic communion with the untamed, wild heart of the land. It's bewildering, isn't it, to conceive of a world where the very rustle of leaves could dictate the fate of a tribe, where the flight path of a crow could signal an impending skirmish or a vital journey. But for the Celts, this wasn't mere superstition. It was their sacred science, their profound, lived connection to a world vibrant with spirits and signs, a world speaking a language we have almost entirely forgotten how to hear. They didn't just observe, they participated intimately in nature's grand unfolding narrative, translating its ceaseless whispers into the very fabric of their lives. Our journey through history's forgotten languages takes a breathtaking leap, far beyond the mists of Celtic groves and the marbled temples of Rome. Across vast oceans and impenetrable jungles, humanity's profound dialogue with the wild reverberated with an astonishing, almost unbelievable consistency. Imagine, if you will, the verdant, suffocating embrace of the Amazon rainforest. Here, amidst a symphony of unseen life, a shaman isn't just a healer. They are a living conduit, their senses finely tuned to the pulse of the jungle. For them, the sudden raucous squawk of a macaw isn't merely a bird's call. It's a directional arrow, a whispered instruction on where to find ripe fruits, or even a warning of a jaguar's unseen presence.
a jaguar whose very movements, whose roaring challenges, are read not as random acts of nature, but as powerful omens, guiding hunting parties or signaling the need for a protective ritual. The sheer, intricate density of this connection is staggering. Then pivot thousands of miles across the boundless sapphire expanse of the Pacific. To the ancient navigators, their double-hulled canoes mere specks on the horizon, the ocean was not an empty void, but a vast living map written in currents, stars, and the flight of birds. Here, the magnificent frigate bird, with its soaring grace and distinctive silhouette, became an invaluable oracle. Its return from a fishing expedition, its specific flight path at dawn or dusk, wasn't just a sign of a successful hunt. It was a compass, pointing unequivocally towards distant, unseen islands, guiding entire communities across open sea. It's truly baffling, isn't it, that a bird's journey could dictate the migration of a people, the very survival of their civilization. Their survival hinged not on written charts, but on an intuitive, deeply respectful interpretation of nature's relentless wisdom. And consider the countless other cultures. The Kalahari San, reading the subtle shift in a termite mound, or the skittish retreat of a herd, predicting rain or the presence of predators. Or the indigenous tribes of North America, for whom the beaver's dam-building activity could signal the severity of an upcoming winter. Each culture a unique dialect, but all speaking the same fundamental language, Earth's own ancient, unbroken script. This wasn't primitive superstition. This was an advanced ecological intelligence, honed over millennia, a wisdom so deeply ingrained, so utterly essential, that it became the very bedrock of their existence, a knowledge now largely dismissed, a skill lost in the clamor of our modern world. And so, after millennia of profound dialogue, of listening to the Earth's whispers, humanity began to pull away. It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? How a wisdom so deeply ingrained, so utterly essential, could be systematically dismissed. As the age of reason dawned across Europe, a new paradigm seized the collective mind, sweeping away the ancient reverence with the unstoppable tide of empirical observation. The Enlightenment, a brilliant beacon of human intellect, paradoxically cast a long shadow over the very knowledge that had sustained civilizations. Suddenly, the rustle of leaves was just wind, the bird's flight merely aerodynamics. The intricate dance of nature, once a divine script, was reclassified. As the young enlightened Europeans entered their historic period of education and culturation, they learned to dismiss the old ways of perceiving the world. What was once seen as profound insight became mere superstition, folklore, the quaint imaginings of an unenlightened past. The very term augury transformed from a sacred practice into a byword for irrationality. We traded the vast, living encyclopedia of the natural world for the sterile, measurable confines of the laboratory. The transition was stark, a dramatic severance. Think of it, where a Roman augur once watched the skies with profound spiritual intent, a modern philosopher now turned to the cold logic of a clockwork universe. Where a Celtic druid found solace and guidance in the hoot of an owl, a burgeoning scientist sought truth through dissection and measurement. The subtle, interconnected web of ecological intelligence was unraveled, strand by precious strand, replaced by a reductionist lens that saw parts, not the breathtaking whole. It's truly a moment of bewildering historical irony. In our fervent quest for progress and reason, we inadvertently erected a formidable veil, a barrier that separated us, often brutally, from the very language that had secured our survival and enriched our spiritual lives for eons. The wisdom of the winds, the prophecy of the flocks, the silent counsel of the forests, all were silenced, not by natural evolution, but by a cultural decree. A profound, almost unfathomable loss hidden beneath the shimmering facade of human advancement.
Yet, despite this sweeping intellectual tide, this traumatic severance, something truly remarkable, almost stubbornly tenacious, refused to be silenced entirely. The ancient whispers, though officially dismissed, found refuge. They didn't vanish. They simply retreated, embedding themselves deep within the fertile soil of common folk wisdom, blossoming in the quiet corners of rural life. It's an astonishing testament to humanity's enduring connection to the wild heart of the world, even when reason declared it folly. Think of it. The sophisticated minds of the Enlightenment might have scorned the notion of a bird bearing tidings, but in the humble cottage, the magpie was still a messenger, its solitary appearance or its chattering flock holding a weight of meaning for generations. A single magpie, a solitary shadow against the gray sky, one for sorrow, the old rhyme warned, a hush falling over those who saw it. A hushed rural family, dressed in 18th century peasant attire, gazes out of a small cottage window with expressions of quiet concern and apprehension. But two, a pair, flitting with playful grace, two for joy, a subtle lift of the spirit, a quiet hope. Its unexpected tap at a window pane was more than just a bird seeking warmth. It was, for many, a visitation, a poignant link to departed loved ones, a delicate reminder that the veil between worlds was thinner than science would allow. Or consider the enigmatic cuckoo, its distinctive call echoing through the spring woods. Not merely a sound of the season, but a living oracle for love and fortune. Unmarried girls would count its calls to predict the years until their wedding day, each cuckoo a whispered moment of hopeful prophecy. Farmers listened for its first cry, gauging the timing of their spring planting, an instinct passed down through countless seasons. These weren't grand auguries sanctioned by state or church, but rather quiet, personal prophecies, lived and breathed by those who remained intimately tethered to the rhythms of the land. Old, weathered storybooks, passed down through families, preserved these charming, almost childlike beliefs, illustrated with whimsical scenes that belied their profound historical roots. So while the great thinkers dissected the universe, the common folk continued to read its simpler yet equally profound script in the flight of a bird, the hoot of an owl, the song of the cuckoo. It's an utterly bewildering paradox, a dismissal of profound ecological knowledge, yet its stubborn survival, like wildflowers pushing through cracked pavement. These whispers, these echoes, remind us that the conversation with nature, though muted, was never truly extinguished. They were the defiant,
beautiful remnants of a language we once spoke fluently, now reduced to charming tales, yet still carrying the resonance of a deeper, ancient truth. And so we arrive at a startling, almost tragic crossroads. For centuries, humanity listened to the rustle of leaves, the cry of a hawk, the murmur of the river. We read nature's ancient script, finding meaning, guidance, even solace in its every utterance. But look around us now. Where is that dialogue? Where is the deep, intuitive understanding that once bound us so intrinsically to the pulse of the planet? We built towering cities, monuments to our own ingenuity, creating worlds of concrete and steel, bathed in the glow of artificial light. In this relentless march of progress, we declared nature's whispers mere superstition, quaint relics of a less enlightened age. We traded the vast, whispering dome of the sky for ceilings, the silent wisdom of the forest for screens, the intricate dance of wildlife for algorithms. It's an almost unfathomable shift. Consider the sheer, bewildering irony. We possess more knowledge, more data about the natural world than any generation before us, cataloging species, mapping migrations with satellite precision, dissecting ecosystems with surgical exactitude. Yet, in this relentless pursuit of scientific understanding, have we inadvertently silenced the very language we sought to decipher? Have we become so adept at quantifying nature that we've forgotten how to feel it? The city hums with its own relentless rhythm, a symphony of traffic, sirens, and human ambition.
How many of us pause to notice the swift's aerial ballet against a skyscraper, or the tenacious wildflower pushing through a pavement crack? The truth is, most of us don't. Our ears are tuned to different frequencies, our eyes fixed on different horizons. This isn't merely a nostalgic lament for a simpler time. It's a profound existential question. By severing this ancient, visceral connection, what invaluable wisdom have we jettisoned? What subtle, ecological intelligence, honed over millennia, lies dormant within us, unheeded? We stand, technologically advanced, yet paradoxically impoverished in our sensory awareness of the living world around us. We have gained dominion over the earth, but in doing so, have we lost the ability to converse with it, to truly listen? This silence, this profound disconnection, might be the greatest, most bewildering cost of our relentless ascent, leaving us adrift in a world we can explain, but no longer intimately understand. But perhaps, amidst the cacophony of our own making, this ancient language isn't truly lost, merely muted, waiting to be rediscovered. Imagine, for a moment, the sheer wonder of lifting our gaze from the glowing screens, from the endless notifications, and allowing our senses to recalibrate. The sun warms your face. The wind whispers secrets through the leaves. A solitary bird, a tiny messenger of an unbroken lineage, takes flight. Is it not an astonishing thought that the same natural world that guided our ancestors, that filled their lives with meaning and portent, still surrounds us, speaking its timeless truths? What if we chose to listen again, not with the cold, analytical detachment of science, but with the open heart of a learner?
not with the cold analytical detachment of science, but with the open heart of a learner. To observe the ant's industrious march, the spider's intricate artistry, the river's ceaseless flow. These aren't just biological processes, they are chapters in an epic, living story. To reclaim this ecological intelligence is not to abandon reason, but to enrich it with an older, deeper wisdom. It's to understand that the health of the forest is intrinsically linked to our own, that the patterns of the stars are reflected in the patterns of our lives, and that every creature holds a piece of the grand cosmic puzzle. It's to understand that the health of the forest is intrinsically linked to our own, that the patterns of the stars are reflected in the patterns of our lives, and that every creature holds a piece of the grand cosmic puzzle. This isn't about retreating to a romanticized past, but about forging a more holistic future. It's about remembering that we are not separate from nature, but an inseparable, intricate thread within its vast tapestry. The invitation is always there, to step away from the manufactured world, even for a moment, and stand quietly in the presence of the wild. To let the whisper of the wind, the rustle of wings, the silent majesty of a mountain peak remind us of our place and reignite that ancient, bewildering dialogue. For in rediscovering nature's hidden language, we might just rediscover a profound, astonishing part of ourselves. It is a dialogue awaiting our return, a conversation that promises to awaken not just our minds, but our very souls. And perhaps nowhere was this whispering sky codified into a system of national governance with more astonishing, almost comical precision than in ancient Rome. Imagine, if you will, the mightiest empire the world had ever seen. Its very foundations, its military campaigns, its political appointments, even its public works, dictated not by senatorial decree alone, but by the flight of birds. It sounds like something out of a fantastical play, doesn't it? But it was deadly serious. From the consecrated space of the templum, often just a square marked on the ground, or a hill overlooking the city, stood a figure of immense power, the Roman augur. Draped in his toga, his head veiled, he held the lituus, a crooked staff, not unlike a shepherd's crook. Draped in his toga, his head veiled, he held the lituus, a crooked staff, not unlike a shepherd's crook. But this wasn't for sheep. It was for drawing invisible lines in the sky, dividing the heavens into sacred sectors, each a potential stage for divine revelation. He would stand there, perhaps at dawn, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the Roman mists, his gaze fixed upwards. Every movement, every chirp, every formation of a flock was scrutinized with painstaking, almost obsessive detail. Was the raven flying left or right? Was the eagle cry out once or thrice? Did the chickens peck at their grain greedily or disdainfully? These were not trivial observations. These were the very breath of the gods, the auspicia, literally watching the birds. These were not trivial observations. These were the very breath of the gods, the auspicia, literally watching the birds. Think of the sheer incredible pressure. a consul's inauguration, the declaration of war against Carthage, the very construction of a new aqueduct, all could be halted, postponed, or irrevocably changed if the birds gave an unfavorable sign. It's almost impossible for our modern minds to grasp the extent of this avian influence. An augur's interpretation could send legions marching or doom a political career. The fate of the Republic at times hung precariously on the whim of a pigeon or the trajectory of a vulture. It wasn't just flight, the feeding habits of sacred chickens, the calls of owls at night, even the precise direction a flock of geese took during an attempted Gaulish invasion, these were all meticulously observed and interpreted. The very notion that the grand design of the universe could communicate its will through such seemingly random, ephemeral moments of nature is both baffling and, in its own way, profoundly beautiful. It speaks to a deep human need to find meaning, even if that meaning seemed to soar on the wings of a common sparrow. It speaks to a deep human need to find meaning, even if that meaning seemed to soar on the wings of a common sparrow. What an extraordinary, utterly captivating way to govern an empire!